asking for your unusual anointing upon our minds, because the matter that we will be pondering today is truly beyond our scope of comprehension. And so it is our prayer that you would expand our capabilities to know who you are and who we are in relation to the scriptures, in relation to the truth, in relation to our identity. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Today we begin a new series on our image, on why we're here, who you are, man and woman, defined by God, based on His image. The sermon title is The Point. It's very intriguing. The reason why I entitled the sermon The Point is because in this day and age we are told that there is no such thing as a point. The prevailing notion in defining who a person is these days is this. There are many points of references, and then you choose your own points. Whatever suits you. Pick, choose, and then adopt it, and then soar with it. Then go for it. Define life according to your terms. Then say to everyone, this is my point, don't touch it. I won't touch your point. And that's what's happening in our generation today. There is a book, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. And I think this is, C.S. Lewis understands what's happening. Although he wrote this several years back, he doesn't even know that it's going to come to terms with what we are encountering these days. Mere Christianity, and I'm going to quote him in full. There is a story about a schoolboy who was asked what he thought God was like. And so, he replied that as far as he could make out, God was the sort of person who is always snooping around to see if anyone is enjoying himself and then trying to stop it. And I'm afraid that this is the sort of idea the word morality raises in a good many people's minds. Something that interferes, something that stops you from having a good time. In reality, moral rules are directions for running the human machine. Every moral rule is there to prevent a breakdown or a strain or a fix or a friction in the running of that machine. That is why these rules at first seem to be constantly interfering with our natural inclination. And so when you're being taught how to use any machine, the instructor keeps on saying, no, don't do it like that. Because, of course, there are all sorts of things that look all right and seem to you the natural way of treating the machine, but they do not really work. That's from Mere Christianity. And so what's saying here is, this is so true for men especially, because I know I have a tendency, when I buy a gadget, whether it's from Lowe's or from fries, I get rid of the box quickly. I get the machine or the gadget and I declare, I know how this thing works. And 5 minutes or 10 minutes into tinkering into that gadget, I can make it work. And I return back to the box and follow the instructions, and it, of course, it works. Because the one who crafted the gadget knows exactly how it ought to work. Same way with life, I suppose. There is, however, a movement currently that's saying that no. You determine your own definition of life, you determine your own point, you determine who you are as a man or as a woman, you're as a male or a female, determine, fill in the blanks, and then declare it to the world. Define your own points. I remember back in the Old Testament, there was a time when people majored in that sort of thinking. Everyone did that which was right in his or her own eyes. Remember that? And God called it wickedness. And they miserably failed. Read the book of Judges if you're in doubt on how that looks like. Everyone did that which was right in his own eyes. The book of Proverbs declares, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to destruction. In the end. And so we are prone to that. God is never surprised when we people advance ourselves in saying that we've got the point. I am the point. What I'm thinking is the point. God is saying, your machine will break down. Trust me. I created you. I crafted you. Trust me. I know how you ought to live. And so, for the next 9 weeks, we will be defining who we are according to the parameters of God. This is our attempt to present the only alternative that the Scripture presents against a generation that has lost its mind. Why do we think the generation has lost its mind? There are many ways to demonstrate that. The media, the TV series, the music that we hear are so distracted away from what we find as clear revelation from God as He's seeking to define who we are. And to give you a case in point, so many PowerPoints here, but in the interest of time, I'm going to pick up a few. There is a college, Mount Holyoke. Have you heard of Mount Holyoke College? Yeah, Mount Holyoke College is one of the Ivy League colleges for women. Back in the days, the Ivy League schools, are only for men, because there is a belief that only men are intellectually superior. And so in order to debunk that theory, the Seven Sisters established the Mount Holyoke College to say, we are going to gather all the intellectual women, the intelligent women, and we're going to prove to you that we can hang with men. And they did. It's a beautiful and lovely college run by the Seven Sisters. But they're known to be very progressive. Like they're modern in their thinking. It was an unusual move just this past few years. There was an unusual move that they came out with a new policy of acceptance. Remember, they're only accepting women. Recently, however, that changed. There was in light of their progressive thinking, there is now a policy in their admission, and this is what they say. The college recognizes that self-identity does change over time. And so considering that self-identity changes over time, we are adopting a new policy. And what they're saying is, a man can actually begin thinking that he is a woman. And a woman can actually start to think that he is a man. And so in light of that progressive thought, they say, we've decided to accommodate a new policy. So who can now be accepted at Mount Holyoke? according to the Seven Sisters. This is in their curriculum, so don't try to add anything to it. This is just policy. But one thing I know about policies, I'm a policy maker myself. A policy needs to work, right? A policy is a policy only if it works, but this is one of their policies. One, those who can attend at Mount Holyoke are those who are biologically born females who identify themselves as women. That's one. They get accepted. Number two, biologically born female who identify themselves as men. They will accept those. Number three, if you're a biologically born female who are identified as others/they. Do you know that's a different category these days? Don't giggle, because you know we live in a generation where this is real. As I want to be as sensitive as I can, because I've got relatives and I've got loved ones who are struggling with this. Okay? This is real, and I submit to you that if there is any place on earth that should be safe for those who are struggling in their identity, it's got to be the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ. Because this is the place of redemption. Understand? We will try to recapture what identity is. Okay? We are not going to judge, but we are going to be a house of redemption. Right? So that's number three. Number four, if you are a biologically born female who do not identify as a man or a woman. That's interesting, right? Like you are sexless. They will accept you. Another one is if you are a biologically born male and you identify as a female, they will accept you. If you are a biologically born male or a female with male and female genitalia, but you are identifying as a female, they will accept you. You see the policy there? How it swings? How that is very complicated. And so in the FAQ, in the frequently asked question, it was asked, now I have a question. What if a biologically born female who is admitted as a female on the second term decides that she is a male? Will you kick her out? Isn't that a fair question? Well, Mount Holyoke has an answer for that. We will never kick out any student whom we have previously admitted. Now that's to them is progressive thinking. And that's very interesting as I process this text, because that's just Mount Holyoke. Now I go to Johns Hopkins and I find an interesting article on Johns Hopkins, and I find the University Distinguished Service Professor of Psychiatry, the head of the department at Johns Hopkins University that is in charge of transgender, changing a man who wants to become a woman. A man thinks he's a woman, and so they operate on that man and turn him into a woman, like Mr. Jenner. Or a woman who decides, no, I'm not a woman, I am a man. They go to Johns Hopkins. By the way, they spearheaded this. In 1970s, they started this. You know who's the leader of that group? Dr. Paul Maheu. Now, interesting thing, he is now in the hot seat. You know why? By the way, he is not a moron because he has several PhDs, and when you have 7 titles before your name, you probably are brilliant. And you probably will not be the head of the psychiatric department of Johns Hopkins if you're a moron. Right? And so what he did, because he was so interested in all the male that he has operated on who have become women because they operated on them, he pursued them and conducted surveys. And what he discovered was very troubling. What he discovered was the trouble in the hearts and in the minds of those males who are now women have not ceased, but have increasingly doubled, if not multiplied. As a matter of fact, they admitted a good majority, 85% I think, of those who are male but have become females are no longer now identifying themselves as female. You know what they are now using? Lesbian. You know why? Because they are now attracted to women again. Well, they were originally men. And so he pursued this study, Paul McHugh, and I told him, this is what was at the USA Today. This is what he said. On gender identity confusion, he's saying, I no longer believe that gender identity confusion is a biological issue. I now believe, he said, that it's a psychiatric issue. I have witnessed a great deal of damage from sex reassignment. The children transformed from their male constitution into female roles suffered prolonged distress and misery as they shared their natural attitudes. And then he continues to go, we have wasted scientific and technical resources and damaged our professional credibility by collaborating with madness rather than trying to study, cure, and ultimately prevent it. He went on to rally to stop the operational procedures at Johns Hopkins, to stop the operations, because he said it's not working. Because he did that, he was set on fire, of course. Because in this generation, you cannot touch the points of others, right? But as a church, do we even have a word? If we hold to the truth that we are God's people and we have been given the truth, are we going to say anything about this when the rest of the world are raising their banners and declaring that they have the point? As a Church of Jesus Christ, I think we do have a point, and we have a responsibility to shepherd and disciple ourselves with the Word of God, and even the young ones. I see that there's only two kinds of people here, the male and the female. How do I know that? You're a male if you've got penis. You're a female if you've got the other one. There will be no in-betweens here. I'm not apologizing for naming the organ because it's made by God. But that is a determining factor that is not accidental. From there, we start. Because God gave you that. And because God gave you that, where do we go from here? It's either we turn to the generation and ask some sociologist or psychiatrist or some movie or some TV series in order to ask them who we are, or we go to God. Because we say that we are followers of Jesus, we really don't have much choice. We surrendered our minds and our hearts to Jesus, if you are a Christian. And so here we go. Where do we go from here? We go to the point. We ask the Lord have mercy on us. We have to understand who we are based on who you say we are. And so let's start. The first thing that I'd like for you to consider is the very first line in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This is perhaps the most pregnant of all sentences ever uttered in human language. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The first point that I'd like us to consider, by the way, track with me, this is just the introduction. We will not go any further deep today, but we will just introduce what we're going to pursue. 9 Sundays until Christmas. So please stay. I'd like for us to have a comprehensive take on this. Letter O. Origin. It says in the very first line and the very first word of God's disclosure who we are in the beginning, God. As the very first sweep of the praise. Do you know that if you take that seriously, it will eliminate immediately the foundational break of any identity doubt? If you believe and subscribe to that very first phrase, the foundational doubts or shakings in your life will instantly disappear if you buy that hook, line, and sinker. Let's deal with it. In the beginning. Did you notice the word beginning? It's time frame. Humans are finite, and because we are finite, we always refer to time. I bet you cannot think of anything or say anything that's not reference from time. What time did you wake up? What time are we going to have lunch? How long is the pastor's sermon? When am I going to this place? How long is our vacation going to be? Etc., etc. We are finite beings, and that's the reason why our categories are finite. They're bounded by time. But once upon a time, we are told, in the beginning. Imagine, this is the beginning. What is beginning? In this text, it refers to the beginning of the cosmos, or the physical universe. In the beginning. That means, once upon a time, there was no physical universe. But, we are told from the text that in the beginning, God, did you see this? God existed before the creation of the cosmological universe. He was already existing. Was He bounded by time? No. He is infinite. He is eternal. So, look at this, people. If there is a human being here who will try to define who he is, what kind of an exercise is that? And there is a God here who claims to exist before the beginning, and He's trying to tell us who we are. Who are you going to believe? The God who exists before time began, or some brilliant philosopher, or a scientist, or a group of scholars, or a group of sociologists who will tell you that this is who you are? This is an exercise almost in humorous logic, because it will never hold water. So understand, when God says in the beginning, God, He is making an audacious claim based on nothing more and nothing less, but based on who He is. I am infinite. And so He says, you better listen to me. In the beginning, He says, God. Now that's just origin. Now He follows up with another O. And the next one is orientation. Now the word orientation has a root. Look closely. Where did orientation come from? The word orient. Which means my vantage point. Every person in this room has a vantage point. Like me, I have a family orientation. I am from the Philippines, I'm Kapampangan. And so my orientation is radically different from the orientation of another Filipina who lives in Bacolod City, my wife. That's totally different. If I transfer that from a gentleman who hails from Puerto Rico, chances are the orientation would vary and shift. And if I move to Venezuela and move to the Vin, oh definitely, it will shift a bit, etc., etc. I'm looking at you. There are various orientations and we know each other already, but our orientations vary. However, God is saying there is, however, a common denominator. Every human being has a singular orientation because, listen to me, he says, you all came from me. In the beginning, he says, God, you began with me. He says, he uses the word Elohim, which is unusual in the Hebrew language. And the word Elohim is a plural of majesty. It's in plural form. Elohim, God. In the beginning, God. That word there, God, is in plural form. It's an intensified form declaring the magnanimity and the strength of God. Elohim is unique plural. And El is strength. And Allah, the next one, is to bind one's strength in faithfulness. It's a beautiful word. God is trying to tell us, in the beginning, I started everything. God. He's not asking you to understand it. He's not trying to explain it to you. He's just giving it. Hey, he says, in the beginning, God. He's not asking you to excuse his audacity. He's saying, I will just tell you as it is. I existed before you did. And anything else in the universe. In the beginning, God. That's a very strong claim. And so he's saying, your orientation must begin from where I am. It's very interesting. Do you know that if you subscribe to that in the beginning, God, it finishes and it destroys all the possible counterpoints that we're having now? Atheism will be destroyed in your head if you subscribe to this, because God does exist according to that disclosure. Pantheism, which is the belief that God is everywhere. I love Avatar. Do you? The movie Avatar, where you have some kind of a tail, and you look for a dinosaur, and you get kind of like the hair of the dinosaur, and you attach it. We're one. And you look for a tree or a plant, and you're losing energy. You look for some kind of a connection. Tree, I'm lacking energy. God is everywhere. Strong again. That's pantheism. You know that this is, Mikhail Gorbachev. Do you know Mikhail Gorbachev? You people, do you know Putin? President Putin? As Russian president. Mikhail Gorbachev was our Putin during my age. Do you know that Mr. Putin is a pantheistic president? Huh? I quote from him. He said, I believe in the cosmos. All of us are linked to the cosmos. So nature, he said, is my God. To me, the nature is sacred. Trees are my temples. And the forests are my cathedrals. Very poetic, but pantheistic, and absolutely wrong. You subscribe to this, pantheism is destroyed because God is distinct from creation. Polytheism is destroyed because created is singular in this revelation. Radical materialism is destroyed because matter has a supernatural origin. Evolution is destroyed because creation took place when someone outside nature intervened. Fatalism is devastated because a personal God chose to create. Dualism, Star Wars, where the horrors of darkness and the horrors of light, the horrors of bad and the horrors of good will clash. And let's cross our fingers on who wins. No such thing. No match for Elohim. No match. Don't even go near Elohim. No such thing. Dualism is destroyed because there is no one who can even measure up with Elohim. Forget Star Wars. Sorry for Star Wars fans. But hedonism is destroyed. If you think that life here is for your enjoyment, you're grossly mistaken. It's not for your enjoyment. It is for God's pleasure. By the way, when you get that, that your life is for God's pleasure, that's the only time that you'll truly enjoy life. That's the only time. That's how you and I were wired, and that's according to the Elohim who created us. Now let's go back. Let's go back to the text. And so, that's orientation. But then he continues. He goes, in the beginning, God. And then the delicious word, Barak, created. Now, I know how difficult this thing is. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The Hebrew word is Barak, which is created. Now, there will not be any human scientist or any human philosopher or any teacher, trust me, who will be able to define this clearly, because there are simply no human categories for creation. Creation is a weird concept because it's weird. We don't know how it looks like. It's just that we are recipients of created things, us, and the things around us, but we've never seen it in its actual form. Creation, how does that look like? Well, we are told in Romans 4:17 that God calls into being that which does not exist. What kind of category is that? Like, it's nothing exists here, right? And then, how would you say, pizza, and then it appears. It's Giordano's or Luminati. Yeah. Or what's your favorite pizza, Edison? Huh? Grimaldi's. That's New York, right? Oh my goodness. Papa John from Texas. There is no such thing. No one does that. No one crafts anything from nothing. But we are told that God does that. And in Hebrews 11:3, by faith we understand that the worlds were prepared by the Word of God, so what is seen was not made out of things which are visible. Did you see that? There is no raw material to work with. There is nothing to begin with. He just, by way of fiat, he just says it and it happens. Give me a man who does that. None. That's why we don't understand this thing. We can get this, but God is saying that's how I do stuff. In John, this is the most succinct. In John 1:3, we are told, all things came into being through Him. Apart from Him, nothing came into being that has come into being. It says, period. If you see anything that's existing, it came from Jesus. Period. Now, how can we even fathom that? Because we don't have categories for that. But God is saying, your orientation, I'm calling you back to understand that you were fearfully and wonderfully made. You need to understand that you were not an accident. You were crafted in my image. Man, he said, and woman. Imago Dei. In His image, He made them, He crafted them. And there was no such thing as an accident. And that's orientation. And the next thing is another O, which is order. And then he moves on. He says, in the beginning, God crafted or created the heavens and the earth. Now that's a figure of speech. For those of you who are into grammar, you know that. God created the heavens and the earth, and that is what you call in the figure of speech in in English grammar and literature, it's called merism. And merism is everything else is included. You can't say everything, and so you just say, ang pagmamahal ko sa'yo, mula sa langit hanggang lupa. My love for you is as far as the east is from the west. That's a merism. So everything included inside. So what's being said here, in the beginning, just so you know, God is saying, I, the Almighty, created everything. Now, when a person like that tells you that he's responsible for everything, do you think he has the right to tell you who you are? Now they have a problem. The scientists would have a problem with that, because if I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation here, let's do this. The Earth, in terms of its approximate relationship to the size of this room, maybe this one. You see this nail thing here? That nail mark, the head of a little nail, okay, that's Earth, okay? You see that? And let's pretend that this little patch here is the Milky Way. That's our galaxy. If my minute scientific understanding is correct, this is how large the entire unknown universe is. Our Milky Way is a little blotch here, and our little Earth is a little rock there. You can't even see it. You know, scientists with good minds who are better than God, they think, are saying, you Christians are so stupid. You know why? I said, you are claiming that you know everything that is to know about life, and your basis is a little rock called Earth, and we happen to live inside that little rock, and you're claiming that you know everything that is to know about the universe. They said that's absurd, and that's too arrogant. It will never hold water. But I'm trying to process that argument. Began to think that in the revelation of God in the Bible, God always majors in the small things, the ordinary things. That's the kind of God that I find in the Bible. It's not about braggadocio. It's not about ta-da, like that. He's not in the big things. He's about turning the ordinary and explaining himself in very ordinary terms. Like, for example, you know, Ronnie, there is an island in the Philippines that probably you know. It's called Corregidor. What do you know about Corregidor? It's in Bataan, and it was a bulwark of defense. It's a rock. What it is, Ronnie, it's just an island rock. Now, solid adobe. It was chosen because so that the Japanese, when they bombarded, they would stand a chance that it's not going to disintegrate. And true, it stood because it's so rocky. It's called Corregidor. I've been there, and it's a hard island. Now that's a big rock, okay, and it's an island. It's from the outside you see it's black. Now let's pretend that I own the island. Okay, I'm about to give it to you for free. You can do whatever you want to do with it. Build your rest house, build a golf course, invite us there, pretend. But I'll give you a choice because I'm benevolent. I happen to own the most expensive diamond in the entire world, which actually is existing, and it is kept. It is about this size, small. If I drop it in my palm, I need to be careful because it might fall. But it is so expensive, it's worth billions. And the gemologists, I don't know what they call it, did I pronounce correctly? Those who study these diamonds, they look at it, from all sorts, and they say, wow, this is just weird, weirdly beautiful. It's bubbling. Oh, this is amazing. This is just the most beautiful. Oh no, every angle has a beautiful light, and they're saying it's billions, okay? But it's tiny, and it fits right here. It's not even in my palm, and I bring it here. Ronnie, I love you. Happy birthday. I acquired this diamond because, I don't know what happened, but I'm fortunate. So I have this diamond. It happens to be the most expensive diamond in the entire world. But I also have corregidor. I'm going to give you corregidor or this rock. They're both rocks. That rock, corregidor, or this one. Whom will you choose? You're trying to be wise because you're trying to build the golf course in Corridor. Well, now, are you with Ronnie? Because if you're not with Ronnie, I will send you to the psychiatric ward because something has gone wrong with your mind if you will not choose the diamond. Now, in my simple thinking, is there a problem if God chooses a small rock and tells himself, that's my diamond. The greatest drama in the entire universe will be played out in that little diamond there. I will send my son there to demonstrate my glory. That's my little diamond there, and I'm going to call it Earth. What do you think? Do you have problems with that? Because all across the board in scriptures, that is what I find. The Lord Jesus and the way he operates is always small, and then he turns the small into an extraordinary creation. That's where we're headed. What we're going to explore in the coming Sundays as we explore our identity is this. We will begin with the mind of God. And from there, we will trust him. I pray that you will park your thoughts because I know your orientations are different. Maybe you've got relatives that are struggling with identity, just as my relatives are struggling with several cases of identity. My generation, if I may be upfront and clear with you, my heart bleeds with the current confusion of where my clan is. And I was led by the Lord not to cast judgment, but to cast truth. Because it's all about redemption. I'd like for us to develop a place where it is most safe, especially for people who are struggling with identity issues. This has to be the safest place. But this has to be the place of truth. Genuinely and gently revealed. And if you are struggling right now and you're in this house, I have a good word for you. We will journey with you. And we have good reasons to believe that you are in good hands. The mere fact that you're here is enough reason for us to know that God has truly a wonderful blueprint for you. And we will together recapture all our individualized packages, if I might use that. And so we're going to use all these things. I'd like you to stay on with me. Continuing, I'd like to walk you through the practicum, and this is where I'd like you to pray with me because I'm doing my research while I'm preparing this sermon series. The first thing that I'd like you to pray for me as I join you with this is that clearly we are not the point. We will not define who we are. If you all agree with me, pray for this for yourself. Okay, I say that I follow Jesus and I tend to define many things in my life according to my culture, according to my university professor, according to my society, according to the TV series. The most subversive are the TV series because they are subliminally philosophical. You know what I'm saying? there is not a singular TV series that's not driven by philosophy. The goal of any TV series, whatever it is, there is a philosophical thrust. And before you know it, you're walking dead.
That's easy.
Or you're a madman. I am enjoying This Is Us. It is just the best. It melts me each time. But before I know it, I'm thinking This Is Us. It is just so good. My goodness, this TV series. Oh my goodness, it affects you like no other. Your defenses are down, you're weeping, everything, you're laughing. Especially the teleseries. The DFCs are epic. Do you know that my aunt probably died because of the teleseries? Yeah, because she's so heavy. She's hard rock when it comes to Gulong ng Palad. My goodness, she would watch Gulong ng Palad by ironing and she'd be cursing like hell against the villain. And she would carry that while she's sleeping and cursing the villain and kind of like lives attached. And music, people. If you think your music are harmless, oh my goodness. Come on, study your playlist, honey. And let's see, try to determine if your playlist and your demeanor are not in concert. Come on, I challenge you. There was a time, I go to the gym, that some guy told me, when you go to the gym, bro, you gotta play rock. I said, really? Okay. So what kind of rock music? Because I'm not a rocker. So I asked him for some rock bands. So he gave me this rock band called Five Finger Punch. It's a rock band. Do you know that band? Or some weird name. Back in my days it's Black Sabbath. But the Metallica and the Led Zeppelin guys. That's my genre. But now the millennials have some really hard-hitting rock bands, and so I kind of like tuned in. And even one of the guys here gave me some the Dragon Force. I put the Dragon Force. My goodness, I tuned in Dragon Force. You don't need any pre-workout drink on Dragon Force. Because the moment you tune that in, Dragon Force. You go, oh my goodness. But the problem is after you work out, you're kind of like walking like this. It's kind of like, it affects you. But I noticed that's rocker. You know who's a rocker? Pastor Robert. You see his eyes when he's not with you? He's admitted he's a rocker. You know how stoic Pastor Robert is? When he's saying, Lord, I lift your name on high, he doesn't raise his hand. It's very sacred. But get him to a Johnny concert. He goes on top of the table and he dances. Am I lying? No, I'm not. Music changes you, right? So I know some of you are into jazz, smooth jazz. And look at you. You're so passive. It affects you, right? Kenny G, Kenny G. Amen. So my wife rebuked me, said, you were so classical, my goodness, stop the classical music. You're always into Vivaldi and the harmless guys, that's why you're always in the heavenlies. You're very ethereal. Calm down. Listen to some pop, listen to some 80s music. And so I did that, and before I knew it, I was being affected. My goodness, music is something else. Why? And so am I hitting a nerve here? Everything that we listen to and everything that we watch is philosophically driven, people. There is a director behind that, and it's not about entertaining you, no? Of course, he gets your money. But he wants for you to think like him. Come on. Interview the directors. If you know one, that's what they're going to tell you. I want to influence minds. Who is influencing you? I hope it's not Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino. By the way, that's one of the best. Yeah. Inglourious Bastards. You're going to be violent after watching it. So don't. We are not the point. God is. Amen. Pray for that. That's not easy. Because everyone thinks that they're the points. Remember. You think that you're the point. God is saying, no. You have to begin with that. That has to be the origin. You have to start with me. And so, we are not powerful. God is. My goodness, some guy has, 52 knockouts and 2 losses, or 38 knockouts and no knockdowns, and he stays in the media and he flips his biceps like this and tells the world that I am the greatest. Mayweather and McGregor are about to hit it. I am so excited, can't wait to watch that. You see, the Irish guy, crazy Irish guy versus Mayweather. It's going to happen. And they're bragging. And Mayweather is looking at him like a pit bull and is saying, no one ever defeats me. Oh my goodness, come on, really? We are not that powerful. Only God is. What are we trying to say? What are we trying to do? We accomplish something. You just accomplish something academically. You accomplish something physically. You accomplish anything sociologically. That's not power. Only one is powerful. The Creator. That's where we get our power from. Thirdly, we are not the point, we are not powerful. We are not potent. You know what potency is? You never lose. And this is the thing, we are led to believe that we always need to win. And God is saying, I didn't craft you for that. I know you're going to lose. That's why I made sure that you understand that the only way that you can live life is if you will connect with me. Then you will never lose. We are not potent. God is. Reverting back, and this is more or less a prequel to the next one, because I told you it's 9 weeks. Reverting back to the point and the power and the potency of who we are as people. I only see only 2 kinds of persons here in this room, the male and the female. If I'm going to simplify this, do you know that God's only plan for all males in this room is to turn every male in this room to become a man. And if I look at all the female here in this room, they only thrust. And the only blueprint of God for every female in this room is for every female to become a woman. But I know a lot of men who think they're men. They're 60 years old and 70. I've even met an 80-year-old male who is nothing but a boy, who just knows how to shave. Do you know a lot of males in your life who are not men? They're boys. No one taught them, or probably they run away from the model. I think this is very important for us fathers, if you got sons. I just had one, because my daughter married one, Emeka. He's now my son, right? So he's now my responsibility. Do you know my responsibility as a father? Show him and all the other boys that are given to me on how to become a man. You know why this is so important? There was an important incident. You all know it's in the news. There were a movie house is packed in Colorado. Suddenly a gunman shows up and starts. He took out his automatic rifle and began shooting people. Remember, this is in the news. Started killing people. Now there were three young men, 19 and 20 years old, who had girlfriends, who were watching a movie. They went on a group date. You know what they did? They threw their girlfriends on the floor and they covered them with their bodies. When the shooting started, everyone started running. They did not run. They threw their girlfriends on the ground and they covered them with their bodies. They all died. Their girlfriends lived. You know what that model is? Their fathers, whoever their fathers are, taught them right. This is now my mantra. A boy goes down. The girl gets free. You get that? The boy goes down. The girl gets free. While this was happening, there was a ship that capsized somewhere. I have to get the details. But you know what the men were doing? They were recorded on social media, pushing the women into the water, pushing children into the water so that they can get into lifeboats. These are men. Tell me if those are men or boys. And they're boys. They're 60 years old. But they are nothing but boys. Because they missed the boat. At the end of our time together, you will know if you are a man or if you are a woman, or if you need help because you have remained a boy all these years, or you have remained a girl all these years. By definition, poetry, nursery rhymes tell us that boys are made of snails and leeches and puppy tails, and girls are sweet and sugar and spice and all things nice. That's a lie. I'm not made of leech. I'm not a snail. I'm not a puppy tail. I did not marry a woman who is sugar and spice and all things nice. Manel is ferocious. Manel is an intellectual giant. And I praise God that God gave her to me because she compliments me and helps me become a man. But our generation is trying to tell us women should just stay at home and clean behind the ears of the babies. And men are like this and like that. Not true. The current definition of man these days, if you want to be a cool dude in this millennial age, as they say, you have to order kale salad at lunch. Kale salad. And then The way you dress should not be distinguishable. It should be like they cannot tell whether you're a male or a female. And the way you dress, that's really cool. And you should be much more feeling oriented than the women. Empathy should be skyrocketing. Etc., etc. I'm listening to all this and I'm looking at society and I'm looking at the current breed of men and I'm not seeing any. I see boys. Boys who are not about protecting themselves, but using little girls as playthings. That's not the model. I think it's time to start a revolution. The Christian church has everything to make this work. The mind of God is with us. The force of the Holy Spirit is with us. My prayer is this. Beginning from the fathers and the mothers in this church, down to our infants, we will make a vow that we will not make our points our point, that we will not pretend that we are powerful, that we are not pretend that we are potent. We will turn to God and ask Him, have mercy on us. Our generation as Lot is mine. Will you please turn our little boys into men? And will you please turn our little girls into women who walk with the glory of Christ? People, this is your family. Let's do this in the name of Christ. And I call the elders and the deacons to help me out with the distribution of the elements, because we're moving to communion, just so you know that this is not drama, that this is really reality, the truth. When we partake